Hello everyone, welcome back to another Doctor Who action figure review. In today's Doctor Who action figure review we're taking a look at Hands on Hips Intensify, the Revenge of the Cybermen B&M collector set, part of the latest B&M drop. So the way this is going to work, we're going to take a look at the packaging, do the articulation in detail, and compare the Cybermen to the original Forbidden Planet 2010 set. So without further ado, let's take a look at the packaging. Taking a look at the packaging for the Revenge of the Cybermen set. So we've got the Style Guide motif that we've grown to know and love over the past couple of years with the Doctor Who logo, the 4th Doctor colour background for the Vortex, the TARDIS, and then the box displaying the figures there with a lovely little insert of Nova Beacon, with the little Cyber Shuttle there, and I think Voga on the top there. It's a little bit of a shame, but we're going to destroy that when getting the figures out, but it says what the set includes, limited edition. The side and the back of the box giving us a bio on Revenge of the Cybermen.
The collection is ours.
Yes, the Cybermen have broke free from their plastic prison and have invaded the collection, so let's hope they don't stumble on any gold, really. So yes, the Revenge of the Cybermen figures, I think this is a set people have been wanting for such a long time because these are highly desirable figures and some of the rare classic figures in the line, and I think that this has been a welcome addition for people to get in the collection. So let's take a look at the articulation for these Cybermen, and then we'll move on to the detail and then a comparison. Articulation wise for the Cyberman and Cyber Leader, so the articulation is thus: the helmet can move side to side, the arms can do a full 360 degree turn, but you just got to be ever so careful when sort of moving it because of the sort of piping on the actual arms themselves. We do have a bicep swivel that can turn ever so slightly, but again you've got to be very careful of those pipes so not to break them. We have bend at the elbow, 360 at the wrists. We do have waist articulation, which probably can do a full 360 degree turn. The legs are on T-crotch joint, so they can kick out and to the side, but again be careful of those pipes. Bend at the knee, and we do have a little bit of foot articulation, but is hindered by the cyber flares. Moving on to the detail for the Revenge of the Cybermen set, so we're going to take a look at the Cyber Leader and of course the Cybermen as well, quickly, because they're essentially the same figure with different paint apps, and the main noticeable difference with these Cybermen is how shiny they are, because they've been given that sort of 60s sort of Dalek sort of shiny paint app, which really works wonders with these Cybermen. So let's take a look at the detail for Mr. Christopher Robbie's Cyber Leader. So of course we have the traditional Cyberman detailing on the helmet there with the sort of section details on the actual helmet itself, again very nice, and of course the little section detail on the tubing of the handlebars itself. And one great little addition to the Cybermen is the little head cannon has been painted this sort of gunmetal grey, which I think really helps sort of accentuate and sort of highlight that detail within the actual helmet itself. So I think you can notice it a little bit more on the actual Cybermen compared to the Cyber Leader. But if we move to the back of the helmet, so you can sort of see the panel detail where Christopher Roy would have been locked inside the helmet, and the little bolt screw there as well, that's very nice. And of course the eyes have been painted that sort of gunmetal grey, which I think really adds to sort of the blank face of the Cybermen. Again, the mouthpiece has been painted black there, so I think that really helps the figure pop, so you really get to sort of see the sort of scary nature of the Cybermen, that sort of blank face there. And of course you have a little detail of the teardrop eyes there on the actual mask itself, and of course we can see that sort of reflective silver detailing there. And if we move down to the body, the chest unit, this is where it gets a little bit interesting, because on the promo images we have these little things where I think the wires for the actual Cybermen to sort of speak in the actual story would be. They, on the images, were sort of this gold colour, and they're sort of this greeny sort of gold colour in person. They're not as egregious as they were on the promotions. I think the oversaturation on those images was quite a lot, but looking at the actual story itself, these Cybermen, looking at the top of the chest unit, they were silver, but they've been given that sort of metallic, sort of goldy green look to it, which, you know, I don't think is as noticeable as the promo images. I think it sort of does blend in, but it's still not accurate. I think the original wins that one with the sort of silver nodges on the top there. So the chest unit itself we've got this sort of circuitry detail on there. That's been given this sort of grey silver paint app, which is accurate. I'll hopefully put a photo on the screen so you can see what I mean by that. So that's accurate, because on the original it was black, and then you can sort of see the inner circuitry of the chest unit. This was sort of a repurposed moon-based chest unit. And then we have the little section detail there, the little 4 little dots. And then this is another little new addition of paint app there, where we have this sort of, again, the same sort of goldy green paint app applied there, which I think works a little bit better in this section, because it's sort of, I guess, is to get a sort of aged perspex look to the actual chest unit itself, and I think that works quite well, despite it being gold. So I think I get sort of Alduar's vision with that, but not so much on the top of a chest unit. Looking at the actual diving suit of the Cybermen, we've got the creasing detail on the back there. They're quite sort of hunchback, aren't they, these Cybermen? With sort of the piping again been given that nice reflective silver paint up there. One thing to note with these Cybermen, they sort of had this sort of silver strip going along there, and it would have been nice maybe if we had maybe a darker silver sort of bit of silver going across the sort of waistline there, just to sort of blend in there, sort of to sort of fix that, because this is one thing with the Cybermen, is that since it's sort of a re-release, it would have been nice just to see a little bit more tweaks done to the paint apps, just to make it a little bit more accurate, like it was in the actual show. But of course we've got the creasing details to sort of reflect that sort of diving suit there, with sort of section details of the sort of piping there, and of course we have that great piping detail going along the arms and legs, of course. And then we have the cyber flares. Now it's rather nice, there's been a slight wash on the sort of lower half of the sort of piping there, which I think really pops really well. And of course we have the cyber flares there, which again is rather great, with the creasing to give that lifelike effect, and the nice shiny reflective boots there as well. So that's the cyber leader. Quickly looking at the Cyberman, very much the same sort of details. Like I say, you can really sort of see the head cannon sort of gunmetal grey sort of pop there, and of course on the eyes and the face itself. And yeah, even sort of the scratching effect you get on certain bits of the costume really does sort of give it that lifelike effect in certain areas, because it was quite a tatty Cyberman design, but I think this design really translates brilliantly into a toy, and I think that these are some of the best figures character options have done, and I love them, and that new silver paint really helps sort of give that sort of cyber look to them. Here we have the Revenge of the Cybermen lineup. So we have the Forbidden Planet 2010 set mixed in, and hopefully on camera you can pick up how shiny these new Cybermen are. So we've got the original Cyber Leader there from 2010, the new B&M version, the new Cyberman, and of course the OG, and then a new one, and then the old one there. So like you say, hopefully the first thing you notice is how shiny the Cybermen are. And of course they have fixed the tooling of the Cybermen on the actual legs. As you can see on the one on the end, the legs sort of bow outwards, and even on that one actually you can sort of see the legs aren't quite flush. Now they fixed the sort of tooling on the legs now, so they're a bit more flush to the body, so you can sort of see the legs go straight down now instead of sort of bowing outwards, which I think is a nice little fix for the Cybermen. So let's do a little comparison now to the original and the new version. So if I just switch these around, so here is the OG Revenge of Cybermen, and here is the new one. So hopefully you can pick up how bright of a shiny silver these Cybermen are on camera, so you can sort of see the difference with the helmet there, with the little head cannon being painted, and the eyes and the mouthpiece there, which I think really pops on these new Cybermen on that sort of bright shiny silver. And one thing the original does have better is the little chest unit parts there not being painted, just being silver instead of that weird green colour there. And of course we have the updated chest unit paint apps. This is where sort of the main differences are. Instead of the black paint apps there, we've got this sort of silver, which is more accurate. We've got the 4 little dots painted there, and of course we have the circuitry painted inside the chest unit. This one I believe is more accurate because they weren't actually painted on the actual prop set, and of course we have a little cog there, which again is different paint apps. there. So yeah, that is one of the differences. You can sort of see the differences there as well. So yeah, those are sort of the differences with the Cybermen. So if I just grab the Cyber Leader for a little close-up so you can sort of see the differences with the original. So here's the new one, and here's the old one, so you can sort of see the differences in the sort of helmet there. And yeah, you can sort of see the difference in the silver used with these Cybermen there. So that is the comparison for the Revenge of the Cybermen. And one more thing to cover in this set is of course the Cybermen's pet, which is of course the Cybermat. So again, this has been given that sort of bright silver paint app finish, which again really reflects well in the light, even though I think it was more of a brushed silver, the actual prop. But of course we can sort of see the section detailing for the Cybermat. And if we move to the underside there, we've got the sort of, again, this sort of nice sort of greyish reflective paint there, which again really reflects well. Sort of you can see the sort of sectioning detail there of the actual Cybermat. And then we have the sort of new paint apps there with this sort of black bit of paint there, and then gold, which if you've watched Revenge of the Cybermen and you know the Cybermen, they're allergic to gold. So this seems like a bit of a sick joke, unless it's when the Fourth Doctor sort of poured gold into the Cybermat and that's sort of to reflect that. I don't know, but if I bring in the original, again you can sort of see the differences in the silver there. So this is the original. Well, I'll swap that around actually, make it a bit easier. So this is the original, this is the new one there, so you can sort of see the difference in the silver. And of course the original had the sort of red mouthpiece there, and you can see the underside isn't painted, which I think that little bit is accurate there, but I have to say I do prefer the original with the sort of red mouth there, which, you know, seems more fitting to the story than whatever this sick practical joke is for the Cybermen with the gold. So yeah, makes for a nice little pair to have two Cybermen. We've got two pets now, which is lovely. My concluding thoughts on the Revenge of the Cybermen B&M exclusive set. Well, I think that this is a brilliant set. I think this is something we've wanted in the B&M line for a long time. I think ever since the sort of Silver Nemesis set back in 2019, people were going, this is great, but can we get the Revenge of the Cybermen figures now? And I think that this is what the B&M line's all about, getting harder to get figures back out there for people to add to their collections. And people like me who have the originals, it gives them a reason to double dip and get these with the new updated silver paint apps and the sort of paint apps on the actual helmets themselves. It's just a great update to the original. I think that these are more superior compared to the original. I think, you know, like I say, the paint apps on the helmet just really aid that sort of blank face and the scary nature of the Cybermen, and it just feels like they've shrunk down the prop from Revenge of the Cybermen. I think that it does suffer a few little issues, like I say, the sort of paint app on the top of the chest unit, and, you know, the sort of gold on the Cybermat. But again, it's just a little variant, I guess. And I think, again, you know, it keeps, if you are a person who cares about value with the figures, then it, you know, the originals still maintain value in that sense. But yeah, I love these Cybermen. I think they are some great figures character have done. Again, fixing sort of tooling on the legs, and just the little bits of detail there, like the little bits of bolts on the arms. I just love these. I think these Cybermen translate so well into sort of figure form. Though the design was quite clunky on screen, there's just something really toyetic about these Cybermen in figure form, and I'm so glad that people can enjoy them. Because they are some real great figures and I love them, and this is definitely worth the price. This is £24.99, so it's a little bit more expensive compared to the usual B&M free pack, but I believe that's down to the part assembly for the Cybermen, because the Cybermen have so many different parts, from the sort of wiring and the, you know, the pipes and the chest units. That's more of an assembly cost, so that's why the price is a little bit higher. And of course we have the Cybermat, which again is a great inclusion. The original for the Planet exclusive was £30, so for £24.99 this is an absolute bargain. The lovely little backdrop of Nerva Beacon, which you kind of don't destroy, you've just got to be very careful when unpacking the figures. But yeah, really lovely set. thank you very much for watching this Doctor Who figure review. If you've enjoyed this video, then please do leave a like and subscribe for plenty more Doctor Who figure related content coming up in the near future, such as a review of the History of the Daleks Set 20 and of course a B&M quest video trying to find this wave in the shops. And hopefully I'll be doing a B&M tier list, where I tier list all the B&M sets and go through them and find out what is my favourite B&M set character options have done. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.